hello, soon to be disappointed fans of Katy Manning.
Isn't Katy Manning?
If anybody's spotted her, maybe you could just point her in our direction. We are currently awaiting the arrival of Katy Manning, which we're sure.
Could you please check your sheds?
Bins.
This time of the year. It is very cold, and Katy Manning does like to hibernate in a dry, safe space. So,
yeah, we're waiting, Ola. I've texted.
We've emailed. We've got somebody trying to ring her as well at the moment. So I'm terribly sorry about this, but for once, it's not our fault. We really are just waiting on Katy Manning to get in touch with us. After this, it's another live interview slot with Sophie Aldred and Will Barton, and hopefully at least one of those knows how to work the phone. And at the end of that, we'll be doing the prize draw as well for the wonderful prizes. Big Finish have given us a bunch of CDs to give away, and we'll be doing that by randomly selecting people who've already donated by the end of that panel. Yeah. So squeeze, if you are thinking of squeezing a few quid our way, do it by the end of that panel to be in with a shout for the prizes.
There's no Adrian Davis says there's no sign of her in Evesham.
No sign of her.
Yeah. Right, yeah, thanks, Adrian. Yeah. We can rule Evesham out of the Katy Manning hunt.
Yeah, and if anyone would like to tweet on Twitter at Katy and reminder.
Yeah. Well, hopefully that explains why we're way late starting this stream. T-Jury on YouTube. Just looks at what time do you call this? Alan and Erica have now gone, just to add to our problems as well. Yeah, that's nice, isn't it? But T-Jury just says totally in character. Which yes, very, very much so. Very much so. Nice Fourth Doctor second scarf model that you got there on your profile picture, T-Jury. Very nice. Somebody who's only just coming up as a Facebook user says, "Can I play Katy?" We don't know if that isn't actually Katy messing with us.
We don't.
It could well be.
That's not impossible, is it? That's not at all impossible. But these things do happen. We are, of course, live. So, Alex, we had a chat earlier about a bit of video. Is there any chance that we've got that to hand? Would we be able to use that at the moment, do you think?
Which video is this?
That was Gav's video that he sent through to us.
Okay. I'm going to say no.
Okay.
Yeah. I might, in my sleep deprived scramble of putting stuff up, I think that's one of the things I probably left out. George, that was George Coppin saying that was him coming up as Facebook user. I've got no idea why it's not bringing up your name there, George. It's weird. Alan and Erica are back.
There we are.
Sorry about that. That was my fault.
The hunt for Katy continued.
Did you check your shed while you were off?
We did. We checked the shit. Tim Jory is saying he's checked his watch, and yes, we have too.
Yeah,
we have.
Yeah. Majestic Ninth Doctor has said expecting her to do a Death of the Doctor style entrance.
Yes.
So a few minutes late, interrupting a funeral, rifling through a handbag. Yeah. Play the emergency tape. I would do if I uploaded it. TJ, but I've got a feeling that's
one thing I was planning on talking to Katy about was, of course, that Doctor Who is one of those remarkable things, isn't it? Because it isn't just a TV show; it's something that actually brings out the professional in people as well. It's responsible for so many people getting into TV and that sort of thing, or just meeting people who then go on to marry and all this sort of thing. So I thought very briefly, Erica. Earliest Doctor Who memory?
My earliest... okay. So it's the Visitation. Visitation is my earliest. Yeah, I can remember the rats and the pterodactyls. So I think that's my earlier, and seeing this dashing Fifth Doctor who...
Yeah. We've still got the restraining order, though, so let's not go into that too much. But
we can't. No.
What's the show mean to you on a personal level? What's it done for you personally, do you think?
Well, I can say most of my closest friends I've met through Doctor Who, through the social aspect of Doctor Who. Husband, through going to the MLG meetings in Liverpool, and this one rescued me from a crappy situation, shall we say, and we've been together now 11 and a half years, and that was through Doctor Who.
Yeah.
Whenever I was down, there's always that Doctor Who story that can pip you up. We all have. We're not honest.
No.
Just in case anyone's
Alex,
just tuning
what does
out
Doctor Who mean to you?
Really confused. Well, I can tell you the first story I saw was the Happiness Patrol, and I think I was probably about 6 at the time, but for some reason, emblazoned in my mind was the pink TARDIS. So it's like bits and pieces of the story sort of like were blotchy in my memory, but I just fixated on that. And for some reason, that being the first episode that I saw, I thought the TARDIS changed colour every time it pulled up somewhere.
Yeah.
Oh.
So, I mean, if you had no idea about it beforehand and you're 6 years old and you see that, you think, oh, that's cool. It's blue a minute ago. Oh, clearly. Next week's going to be green, isn't it? Yeah. So then I was bitterly disappointed when it just stayed as blue throughout the rest of the original run. So yes, a few more comments. Rachel is on saying hello all. Hello Rachel.
Hi Ray.
Hello, Rachel.
We're clearly not Katy. Few people coming up for some reason without their actual names. They're just saying Facebook user. So if that was you saying hi all, let us know your name and your mother's maiden name. Yeah, you're making me feel old. I remember watching The Invisible Enemy. Facebook user, probably the same one. I don't know. I remember the Happiness Patrol from its original broadcast too. Yeah. It's
interesting, that whole sort of comfort story thing, because I do wish sometimes that I had an absolute classic to go to, but it's The Haunts of Nymon, which I remember being genuinely terrified of when I think that's one of my earliest sort of Who memories. My very earliest one is either sitting on the kitchen work surfaces of our kitchen and looking at our basset hound, or it's the cliffhanger of episode 2 of The Power of Kroll, which scared the hell out of me at the time. Kroll arising from the depths terrified me. And it coincided with an advert for BT in which a woman left a tap running upstairs, which turned into an absolute flood of water coming down the stairs while she's on the phone trying to call a repairman out. And I linked that with The Power of Kroll, and that absolutely freaked me out for ages, until I then saw The Creature from the Pit, and I was delightfully scared. And my dad, probably thinking he was doing me a favor, just went, "It's just a plastic bag," which kind of ruined it a little bit. Luckily, I didn't notice it was a plastic bag with a massive phallus, of course, but nevertheless.
Couple of comments that's just come in. Facebook user who's identified himself as Jason Thompson, the one that remembers the Happiness Patrol. Jonathan Guest also has a theory saying maybe Katie's too busy getting dolled up for a virtual night out on the town with Mike Yates. We welcome further theories, please. If you'd like to take a stab at what is keeping Katie. Then we do have somebody in the wings who's waiting to join us. Are you ready for this?
Mm-hmm.
It's Paul Griggs. Hey!
Hey! Not Katie.
Everyone except Katie is here.
Everyone.
Yeah, no, I've checked down the back of the sofa. She's not there.
Not there. Paul Griggs, what's your comfort story? We're talking comfort stories.
Oh gosh, that's really tough. It will depend on the mood. Because one day I'll be in the mood for something, sort of with some really snappy dialogue and fits nicely into 45 minutes. So I'll watch, something with David Tennant or Matt Smith. And other days I'll want something that's, sort of really classic and atmospheric. So I'll go back to a Patrick Troughton story. It's absolutely dependent on the mood.
So I was just checking through my emails to make sure I gave her the right time, right place. I
Adrian
did.
Davis on YouTube. Earliest ever memory. I was 4 and terrified watching Brain of Morbius. Absolutely fantastic. Got me hooked on Doctor Who ever since then. T. Jury has a theory that she can't make it because she's lost her glasses.
Quite possible.
That's
quite obviously some inside knowledge there.
Yeah.
It's interesting, isn't it, that people have just been talking about their comforting Doctor Who story. But if you ask somebody what their first Doctor Who memory was, inevitably it was, I was watching such and such and it scared the crap out of me.
You know, that's absolutely true. My earliest memory of Doctor Who is quite sad and quite scary, because it was the creature from the pit, and it's that scene where K9 is basically attacked by the wolfweeds and completely murdered, and Romana's just sat there going, "Oh, K9." I swear I must have been. I mean, I was aware of what Doctor Who was, so I must have seen it before then. But that's the one that always stuck with me.
So I recall going.
For me, it's my earliest clear Doctor Who memory is Curse of Fenric, and it's when the girls with the fingernails come for Nicholas Parsons. So it's the same sort of thing. It's a death, a murder, and a sadness, and it's I wouldn't, to this day, I wouldn't say, oh, I would watch Curse of Fenric as a comfort story, despite the fact that it stands up exceptionally well.
I wouldn't
settle down with it.
I was about to do a very poor joke, but then I remembered the time of the afternoon that we were on, some thought better of it.
Well, I was
save it for the evening.
Obviously, Nicholas Parsons got murdered because he didn't pause, hesitate, repeat a word, or say a word we didn't like. So,
It just stands up as good telly. I always think it's just wonderful drama. If that had been on a Sunday night at 7:00, show would have continued. Simple as that. It was a wonderful bit of telly, wonderful drama.
What comment on Facebook? The one that scared me more than the others was Deadly Assassin, especially the clown in the sand and the small train. Jason here again. Scary comment is true. I remember watching Trial of a Time Lord. I was 7 years old. So scared by the cliffhanger of part 13, I refused to watch the following week. I didn't know the next episode was the last one, and it was years before I found out how the trial concluded.
Wow. I mean, there are plenty of people who refuse to watch the end of Trial of a Time Lord, but not always because they were scared of it.
Yeah, they were scared of Pip and Jane Baker.
But it's funny you should say that, because I happen to know somebody who, thinking of the knock-on effect from week to week, I happen to know somebody who was so distraught when the fifth Doctor died that she refused to go into school the next day.
Can we have a hint as to who that was?
Yes, okay. I did. I wouldn't go to school the next day because I thought my teacher had died.
She had a day of mourning.
Wow.
I did.
Did you go around the rest of the year wearing a bit of celery?
No, because he was out. It was when he was shot. When they tied him up and shot him, and that was on the Monday. But there was another episode on the Wednesday, so it was all right. And then he regenerated then, so it was okay because I knew he wasn't dead. He just regenerated into Colin Baker, so I was okay with that. But I was only 7, and I thought Peter died.
You wore a veil and widow's weeds. For the week.
Did. I was in widow's weeds.
Widow's weeds. Yeah.
So, what's that comment? It could be. Right. Okay.
Could be worse. Watched Time and the Rani recently. It's terrible. Or even when he plays the spoons on KMR's chest. That's a classic.
Still seemed to enjoy that. He just mentioned.
I'm going to need a bigger spoon.
Well,
get me ladles out for this one.
Apologies, everyone. There's still no sign of Ms. Manning. If anyone wants to take to Twitter and tweet her and remind her.
Another comment about scary 80s moments. Remembrance of the Daleks, the little girl with the 5 5, 6, 7, 8. It's a doctor at the gate. So that you can't say that flatly. You have to give it the spooky kid voice.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Really get the,
Well, I did a short interview on Radio Merseyside to promote this event the other day, and when they asked me about scary moments, I mentioned Remembrance of the Daleks and the cliffhanger, I think, to the first episode, where they're trapped in the basement with the Dalek, and the Doctor rushes up the stairs, and the door at the top of the stairs is locked, and he turns round, and the Dalek is following him up the stairs on a column of hot air. So the Seventh Doctor certainly had his moments for, and again, Remembrance of the Daleks is an episode, is a story that stood up really well, I think.
Right. That got my reading of the 5, 6, 7, 8 line got some good response on Facebook saying that was scarier than the actual scene from Remembrance.
You scared all our donors off, Alex, with your bloody Nightmare on Elm Street rendition.
Well, Katie was tweeting about us 2 hours ago, so
yeah,
we don't know what's happened in two. Maybe she thinks she's on at 1 o'clock in the morning.
Maybe, I don't know.
Oh,
I mean, she'll turn up at some point in the day. I think
that means
she'll jump on some panel.
That means Paul's got to be on call now. Just in case Katy Manning suddenly appears.
Till 2 in the morning. Oh, well, I wasn't going anywhere. We're locked down. That's okay.
Ironically, we'll beep you.
Would you like me hospital bleep? You'll have to have my hospital bleep, and then we can bleep you. We can put you on full Katy bleep.
Well, I mean, last time when we had her up, of course, it was. It was an unusual interview. Like I said at the top of the morning, with which just ended up with a sat on my knee in front of a very perplexed Richard Franklin, who was talking about a Amazon screen, as I remember. So this is nothing comparably. This is absolutely fine.
I'm totally within character.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, we mentioned as part of the Tony Jordan interview that she tends to be good value at conventions. I remember a Capitol we did a couple of years ago. Somebody had dropped out and we were short of a panel, and we were trying to think of an extra panel to throw in. And in the end, what we did was we had Katy Manning try to set the world record for the most number of hugs within the half hour we had available. Unfortunately, she hugs for too long, so we failed. Yeah. But everybody thoroughly enjoyed the attempt.
It was good.
Maybe Katy Manning has been put into solitary for everyone's benefit, so she doesn't spread any more of the virus. It's just because she's quite touchy-feely and just wants to get out there and touch people. That's the point. If anyone could tell us what the R rate is like around Katy.
Yeah, not where we live, just the immediate vicinity of Katy herself.
Tim Jury has sent Katy a reminder on Twitter. Thank you very much,
Thank
Jim. Rod Maxwell, the one I remember really being scared of was Ark in Space. Bubble wrap looks terrifying on black and white telly. A lot did look more scary in the black and white days. It had a certain atmospheric to it, which I think was lost.
I got to agree with that, because some of the Pertwees, I think, looked much better before they got recolored. For example, the demons I think looks a lot more sort of Hammer-esque in black and white than the recolored version.
Yeah, I think, and same with I think the last one War Games. So I think that benefited from being black and white. Can you imagine that in colour? I thought it would look a bit tacky, but because it was black and white, it really felt like an old war movie that went off on a sci-fi tangent. It was brilliant.
I think that's very much the case with people seem to think that lack of colour hamstrung certain things. But in point of fact, of course, the aesthetic was designed to the technical limitations. So if you knew something wasn't going to be in colour, you designed it to make the most of that chiaroscuro, that shadow, the black and white and the start lines. That recolorization often doesn't help with, as Paul says. What springs to mind with me is watching the original Night of the Living Dead. If you've watched that in colorized version, It's ridiculous because all the zombies are bright green.
I'll tell you what I saw recently. It surprised me that it worked. Because I assume we're all watching WandaVision here.
Yeah.
Well, after watching the first episode of that, I managed to find the first episode of Bewitched on YouTube to show Joshua, and of course that first season was originally made in black and white, but they've actually, because everything else is in color, they actually about, I mean, it was about 10-15 years ago they did this now, but they actually colorized it, and it holds up quite well, considering it's 15-year-old technology that had colorized it, and it wasn't supposed to be in color in the first place. So sometimes it does work.
Derek Mahoney on YouTube. First memory, Spearhead from Space. Only time I was affected, the autons coming through the shop windows would watch the shop window dummies in case they moved, never phased by other monsters. That's such a simple but effective, the autons. And ingenious as well. Tinjory got one of those hugs off of Katy.
Yay.
Doctor Who is excellent at that, I think, at taking something utterly mundane and making it terrifying. Stephen Moffat did the same thing again many years later.
The Weeping Angels, yeah.
Of course, yeah. It's exactly the same thought process. And one of the scariest 45 minutes of television I'd seen in a long time.
Oh, I think we might have got contact. Hang on.
Oh.
This is like a seance, isn't it?
This is kind of.
It is.
If you can hear us, Katy.
A seance come team meeting, because now we're going to have to discuss when to bail on this live stream, because the next one's coming up at 2, and what the plan B would be. If she suddenly appears, can you record from your side, Paul C?
I could get her to jump onto Skype. I could get her to jump onto Zoom, and I could record that way.
Then we can bung it as a bonus thing to go out either later today or tomorrow.
Yeah, we can do that.
Yeah.
We'll sort something out. Sweet. If she gets in touch, we might go live later or something.
Yeah, we might have to move one of the scheduled interviews and
might get her on the improv instead.
Yes. Thanks for that. There's a subtext of "you must suffer."
Oh, she's coming. We've heard. She'll be here in 5 minutes.
There we go.
Okay.
When she appears, maybe just have her on the survival panel for a laugh.
No, that would require a whole extra link, which will which I think would complicate things to a dangerous degree.
Okay.
So, considering that one link has got us this far, link number 2, I have no idea what link number 2 would bring.
So I've heard from Katy. She's going to be here in 5 minutes.
She says. Yeah.
Right.
Having spoken to Katy a few times, I think she would be perfectly capable of talking for half an hour about what it was like not being in survival.
Hey, here's the big challenge. Do you think you could get a comprehensive interview in 25 minutes?
I wasn't convinced I'd get a comprehensive interview at all in this section.
I'm not sure comprehensive is
at this point.
Feel
free to throw questions in for Katy when she arrives. As many questions as you like, and we'll use those as we go. So do feel free to do that. The thought of Katy doing improv, I know. Oh yes,
yes. That's why if it wasn't for this great lighting, I'd be quite pale.
Okay. Shall I read the text from Katy?
Go on.
Oh my goodness, so sorry. Give me 5 minutes. Had a little problem.
I dread to think.
Yes.
Right. So, are we all wearing watches? Because when she does appear, we just got to give it some time. Do you call this?
Who wears a watch these days? It's all phones.
It's all phones.
Alex does, apparently.
Yeah. With the timer.
Yeah, but it's
this is good filling material. Well done, Paul. Do you still wear a watch, or do you use your phone?
But then
Why not write in for no reason and tell us? We're not interested, but it'll fill some time in.
Just some team meeting.
Watches when I was about 16, and because I was wearing waistcoats and did the whole Doctor Who pocket watch thing. So, you know.
Fun watches, yeah.
Jason, he's a pound watch wearer, always will be. Well, fair enough. If we're talking about technology that is slightly out of date that we own.
Oh, the brick.
Yes.
Have you got a case for it to protect the floor when you drop it?
Yes, a suitcase.
Alex, is it on?
It is on. You're texting me now, aren't you? Yeah. I love the fact that people are answering. There we go. One message received from Erica. There we go. Oh, great. That just says beep. That cost you 10 pence. I said beep. that belongs in a music. Yeah, I know, but I've had so much fun since. That's one of my more impulse purchases. I've had a lot more fun out of. Rachel Brock, where's a watch? There we go. Yeah. There we go.
Can I just say that in fact the message didn't read bleep when Erica sent it, but your phone's obviously adjusted for being before the watershed.
I'll just turn that filter off.
Yeah. So, Alex, how late can our next panel run behind?
Well, it's live. Unfortunately, it's another live panel. So
it is another live panel, and I said meet me at 10 to. So yeah. So that'll be fun. So this is no pressure, Paul. No
not
pressure.
at all.
No
25 minutes. We're used to the 25 minutes.
You're gonna have to do a Jackie Weaver.
Adrian Davis has a lovely Doctor Who watch he wears on special occasions. If there is a way of you getting a picture of that to us, Adrian, we'd love to see it.
Yeah.
One way or another.
Special occasion.
Find the Facebook group if you remember to that, and send us a message of your Doctor Who watch. That'll be cool. Tin Jerry, call her at 12:30 next time. Yeah, well, hindsight's 2020. Tim,
2021.
Let's not mention 2020 at all. It's a year we'd all rather forget. Okay, so it's now we're in the danger zone now, Paul. We're in the danger zone where it's looking at best 15 minutes.
Right.
Danger zone.
Any sign in the waiting room yet?
No. Although that would be really sadistic if I just kept her there just for a laugh. After all this
the whole time.
Just off screen, what you can't see on the broadcast is just there going.
Well, this is 5 minutes now, so hopefully
any minute now.
Any minute now.
We're finally getting Katy Manning.
No, I suggest we all just leave as soon as she comes, so we don't waste valuable time.
I think that's probably wise.
Wouldn't it be a great meta joke reference if, weirdly, we're expecting Katy Manning and then Freema Agyeman appears?
I think
would you, Adam?
And that is what I've lined up.
Ladies and gentlemen, Katy Manning is with us.
Yay!
Don't worry, you're not being interviewed by all four of us. We were just filling in.
Well, you said, what happened? There's always something. It's either I find a wounded kestrel or whatever. This time, I posted a very important birthday present that cost me quite a few shillings. And I posted it, went off, grabbed a pint of milk because I've got to have a cup of tea. And suddenly I forgot to put the address on it. So Oh, well, so I waited because there was going to be a collection, and everything went out of my head except I've got to get this parcel or do something. Anyway, eventually a lovely little man in the Royal Mail are fantastic. Anyway, he went into the building and he came out and he got a key and he opened it up and I got my parcel, I addressed it. Then I didn't have the postcode. So I had to, I mean, this is a long story. Anyway, I'm here now.
Excellent. Well, we'll all vamos and just leave you and Paul to it. So
right.
Have a good one.
Okay, here we go. And hello, Katy.
Hello, darling. You know, I'm actually, all I can see are these little tiny blobs.
Well,
so I don't know.
One of them's me. That's fine.
Well, I'd like to be one of those little tiny blobs today. Thank you.
So, Katy, talk to me if you would. Talk to me about lockdown, because of course we're in this strange time at the moment. Such a strange, unusual time.
I rolled my eyes then.
I did, yes. Yeah. I saw. So how are you? How is lockdown to you? How are you coping?
This is a question which I think I'm actually getting to the point. You know, lockdown for me, all right, I will be polite and I will answer it, but it's one of those things you think, oh, please. You know, whatever situation one's in, one's got to make it work for you, do the best you can in it, not complain, not moan, not whinge. I feel quite strongly about this. Yes, you've got to be very caring for those who do have, you know, who are going through really, really difficult times due to lockdown. You know, exasperated by lockdown in some cases. And so it made me realize that it's not about me in lockdown. You know, I'm a mad old bat. I can do this. I run around, I make things. I've got saws out. You know, I knit, I sew, I make costumes for my grandchild in Australia. You know, I'm always doing something. And I walk a lot. But it made me realize that I'm in a situation whereby I can actually help other people who aren't handling it so well. And because you've only got to, have you noticed I have nails on one hand and not on the other?
Yes.
All right, that's another story. Anyway, so it made me realize how much, you know, one needs to do to help others. And, you know, people sit there and they are glued to the news. And they don't realize that always it's going to be the negative that shouts the loudest. And I feel I want to help people find that there is some amazing things happening. Not everything is gloom, doom, and disaster. There is enormous hope. We can see that today. And it's keeping people afloat. It's helping them through. And I think that that's what lockdown has truly given me, is the ability to help people, to make people smile. I had a lot of people on DM who are going through very, very traumatic times, and I'm endeavoring to be as supportive as I can to them. So that's what lockdown means to me.
Thank you. So it's, in a way, it's
open our arms to the world.
Yeah.
And there are people who've got a roof over their head, food in their stomachs, and they're sitting there going, oh, I'm so bored. Oh, I don't think I can take. And that makes me angry. Because if you have an ability to live, I mean, I don't have any help from the government. I have no income whatsoever. I pay rent. I don't own a home. And I'm 74. So, you know, when I hear people actually whinging with no reason to whinge, yes, it's not great. None of us want this, especially, you know, and actors, you know, need to be doing I'm very lucky. I've got so many people that live in my head. I talk to myself in about 25,000 voices. I answer myself in different voices. I even played Scrabble by myself and lost.
You don't seem to be someone who has the ability to be bored because of this creative drive that you have.
Yes,
is creativity therapeutic?
As a child, I was, you know, we were encouraged not to use the word bored. It's like using the word hate. You know, and bored to me. If I had to sit all day and take the pips out of olives for 12 hours a day, I might eventually go, you know what, I'm a little bored. But, but you know, bored means that you're not actually utilizing your juices. And, you know, creativity doesn't have to come, you know, you don't have to be able to paint like Rembrandt to paint. Paint your heart, paint your feelings, paint your soul, paint your emotions, paint your anger. You know, you know, get outside, look up, look at this remarkable world around us. And we've survived on the planet for billions of years, and we're still here.
So can I ask, where does your creativity come from? Are you from a very arty family originally?
But I don't think it has to come from anywhere. I think it's just I mean, yes, I do have, of course. I have a family of artists, writers, you know, I mean, very, very much so. My mother was made, my sis, everybody was brilliant at doing something. You know, we have 3 very well-known painters in our family. Although my father was a campaigner, he was also extraordinarily creative in the way that he would be able to write. So it was always there. And I was encouraged to do it. In fact, my mother begged me to stay out of the kitchen, and they made me a studio so I could go and paint, because both my mother and sister actually banished me from the kitchen forever. You know, go into your attic and paint, and then the ladder up and leave me in the attic. But it's you know, years ago I did a program called Serendipity, and it was not about, you know, you having a gene in you that, you know, or having had parents or family that creativity. It's a question of just using your imagination and thinking, you know, like I've had a plumbing problem. No, not personally. I promise you I'm not going there.
Right. But as an actor then, do you have a particular... Oh, sorry, go on.
Well, I was just going to say, with the plumbing problem, I always believe if something doesn't work, I'll make it work another way. So I ultimately, until I could actually get a plumber to come in and put a new tap in, I had bits of string. I'd worked out all these different ways that I could actually tie this tap off so that it wouldn't continuously run. You know, that's called being creative, isn't it? Yeah,
absolutely. Yes, it is. It is. And as an actress, do you have a particular methodology that you follow as an actress when you're trying to sort of get into a role? Because you always inhabit your roles. I saw you in Edinburgh performing in Keeping Up with the Jones, and it just struck me that both you and Susan Penhaligon so fully occupied those characters. I was wondering, as an actor, do you have a particular method for getting into those roles to make them believable?
No, I mean, there are many, many ways of approaching acting, and, you know, we all have different ways of doing it. And I think they're all very, very relevant. I think it's taking a little bit of everything, actually. I don't, you know, for me, it's never just one school of learning. It's like, and also you're learning every day and new things and new ways of doing things. But I think here, because one of the things that I do that I think not everybody can do, it's not many things, but, you know, so many brilliant actors out there. I grew up with so many famous people that, you know, I was always trying to find something that I could do. Because there's no point in trying to do something that somebody else does so much better than you. You know, so people say, why don't you sing? I said, because I know too many good singers. You know, I'm embarrassed. So is that I'm multi-voice, which means, like in Not a Well Woman, which I also did on stage, when I did Me and Jezebel, which I also did at the Edinburgh Festival. I cut it down to 7 characters then, but originally it was 9. And then, you know, there'd be moments where there'd be 4 of me in a car, 4 of me in a car. And there'd be Betty Davis, there'd be the 4-year-old child, and there would be the husband, and there would be the slightly neurotic wife, all in a car, you know, and the kid's kicking the back of the seat, and Betty's having to go to the kid, and the husband's coming in. So you don't have a breath between those, because people interrupt each other when they talk. So you've actually got to have a character so ready to go over and into. One's crying, one's furious, one's trying to make the peace. So you have to have all those different emotions. When I did Not a Well Woman, which I wrote myself, I mean, there's nearly 26 characters I play. And again, you know, from African men to Australians to pilots to newborn babies crying, teenagers. And you can't really, there's not a lot of method you can put into that. What it means is you have to find every single character. When I recorded Not a Well Woman, I don't stop and do one character, then another character, and then another character. I've been doing this for a long time in Australia when I was doing a lot of animated cartoons. I just keep going, and it gets things done very quickly. Makes it cheaper because you don't have to have any actors. I mean, even on some of the big finishes, I'd be playing Iris before lovely Tim Trelaw joined us. I'd be playing Iris, I'd be playing Joe, I'd be playing the Brig, you know, even though the voices of some of those characters wouldn't be, you've got to get the exact feeling of each character through the body language. It's like when people do really great impersonations. There's a difference between an impersonation and it's genius, you know, but when you're doing a character that everybody knows and you have to sustain it, you know, the voice is important, but it's finding that heart, and you do that through body language. Am I making any sense?
No, you absolutely are. Yeah, you are.
It's quite hard to explain. And it's so much body language change, because each emotion, each character has a different, you know, I know when I'm playing, when I'm playing young Joe, I'm on tippy toes because you take your energy in a different direction.
Yes.
And then when I'm playing older Joe, I can be a little more chilled out because she's older, and therefore, you know, it's like when you're playing tiny children and things, you know, its body language is so important. You can't even do a dialect without changing your body language.
Yeah. So with Joe, what I found fascinating is I was reading an interview where you said that basically the character of Joe had to be born on location with you. There wasn't a sort of a Bible given to you, and of course there was no rehearsal. It was filming first, so everything had to be set up there and then it was just in front of the cameras. Was that something you were able to stick with, or did you gently sort of like change and alter her slowly, do you think?
Well, you have to remember, I was very lucky with Joe, because Joe started out as sort of 19, a year's training, which she chose to do certain things because she had no intention of joining unit per se, but she, you know, got this job, and she was very happy to go all the way, but she didn't want to join the army or anything.
Yeah.
She wasn't trained on that level. So Joe was probably only a couple of years out of school, you know, and also didn't pass any of her GCSEs. What are they? Because I never took any.
O levels it would have been.
A levels either. And so she was very young. So I realized at that point, well, I didn't realize at that point, but of course you were going to watch, or the audience were going to watch Joe grow up. Because as she was with the doctor, she was learning. And she was growing older, and you actually watch her from being this young, oh gosh, you know, golly, and always cheeky, naughty, very brave.
Yeah.
You know, she didn't, you know, all this thing about, oh, Joe was a screamer. No, she wasn't. No. You know, there's a moment where something will creep up on you. I defy anybody not to scream. You know, you tapped on the shoulder by an ogre, what you're going to go, oh, hello, darling. You know. Especially when you're playing a character of this planet, you know, she has no experience in space travel or anything like that. So what they had given me was very little, because I think they sort of changed their minds, which is, you know, why she never really had that progression with Captain Yates, because it just didn't, it wasn't right. And yet I think the original idea was that that would happen, and Joe would be very much part of UNIT. But then they saw sort of John and I working together, and it started to change. So what I really got was I suppose, in a sense, given to me, was this person with absolutely no experience in this kind of world whatsoever, thrown into this situation, and, you know, just reacted to what was happening to her, if that makes any sense at all.
Yeah, it does. It does. Absolutely does.
No, you kind of, she had to be gutsy. She had to take it, and then, you know, immediately she learned that the master would hypnotize, and that what she had to do to stop it. Boom, she had that, got that. Don't have to tell me that twice, you know, that sort of thing. She was just a tough little cookie learning on the job. But what was great, she was learning more from the doctor. She wasn't really interested in UNIT.
And,
you know, you never saw this girl salute.
no. But there was a lovely, an incredible loyalty.
She got married.
So she did get a character arc, I suppose, didn't she? But how much of that was yourself and John?
Really. Her name was Josephine Grant. She'd done a training in, I can't remember what it was, I was supposed, but it's, people like to put up on, you know, those things that tell you what a character is, and they've got it totally wrong. No, she didn't learn how to be a spy. She learned escapology and a couple of other totally, well, they did come in handy once or twice. She could pick locks, but there is nowhere in her character that, and I think this again was in the original idea, because I was cast very late. If you probably don't, you either do or don't know that, but I was cast very, very late. They'd already shortlisted it to 3. So I was a ring-in. And so character had been sort of written, but I think they sort of changed their minds. And I can't say, oh yeah, I walked in, they all went, they've changed it. But I think they saw something in me that they felt was absolutely right, quirky, and would fit the role, even though it was slightly different.
Yeah, and a wonderful relationship and a wonderful energy, of course, with John Pertwee, but also with the rest of the cast as well. And that's there's a love, isn't there, which you can feel on screen. You get the impression. You get the impression that what you're watching is a group of people who have got each other's backs, who care about each other when you watch the show. I think in your era in particular, there's an obvious warmth and affection between the Doctor and Joe, which presumably was absolutely there between yourself and John in real life as well.
Well, as Barry Letts, or, you know, even when I've been directing and casting, one of the things that you can't absolutely be sure of, and you see it, oh God, you see it in everything that Russell T Davies does, it's you cast with the, and Barry Letts actually said this to me, he said, you cast with that absolute hope that there is going to be that chemistry, that magic, that little je ne sais quoi, because it really does read across the camera, even in something like Doctor Who. And I know that, you know, it was like when John and I really just clicked from the moment we met. It, you know, just that thing when you meet people.
Yes.
Yes. And it was when Liz, beautiful Liz, met Tom Baker. You can see that working in that same way that John and I worked. You know, Liz and I often talk about this. And it just adds that something. And then you take Roger Delgado and you take Nicholas Courtney and the lovely Richard Franklin and John Levine, and you add that, because they weren't always going to be in it, if you know what I mean, where there were going to be episodes where it was just John and myself later, once we left, basically. And even, you know, that in that mix, there's that, we just all hit it off, that we actually enjoyed socializing together on a regular basis, that John and I would always drive to location together. We'd all have lunch together every day. Everything was done together. And I think that shows a very strong team. You know, everything was discussed together. I mean, all knew about each other's lives.
Yeah. It always, it's got, like I say, it's a sense of love. I think that's there, that I think is something that's quite unique to the show, isn't it?
You know, absolutely. It was, there was such love that, you know, any problems, and we all had a life outside of Doctor Who. And situations and things occurred in our lives, you know, that we either have talked about, or we, like me, you don't like talking about your life, you just like getting on with it. And some of it's so outrageous, nobody will ever believe it, so I don't tell anyone. But, you know, we all had a great ability to come to each other's and help each other through some very difficult times during that, which also strengthens a bond when you're working.
Yeah. Can I ask, after the show, what was it? Did you have a sort of a continuing relationship with any of the cast? Were you still in contact with them, or did you feel that you had to leave Jo behind to enable yourself to move on, do you think?
Sorry. So I heard the question, but something, just, this is my dodgy eye, and it things went into it. Right. Well, yes, we did. You know, I mean, like all actors will tell you, you can tour with somebody for months. You can be in the West End with somebody playing your husband for 3 years. But then you move on. But the moment that you see each other again, it's like all your closest friends. You know, I mean, because I've lived in 3 different countries, I've got friends all over the place. And if I don't speak to them for a year, it's no big deal. No, it really isn't. That's and it's the same, I think, with a lot of the acting type. You know, we call it a family when you're appearing together every day. You know, it's quite horrendous. Like, I remember, and that's just so silly, but it was every day John would pick me up on the corner, because he had to come right past, whether he was on the motorbike or in the car, and he picked me up, and he would drive me to rehearsals every day. And I remember standing on that corner, like 2 days after I'd left the show. And it was such a routine in my life. I actually burst into tears on the corner, you know.
Oh, yeah.
I was lost, because I was a very young actress. I'd done Softly, and I'd done Man at the Top. I'd done 2 episodes. One, and that was sort of that's all I'd had in my career at that point. And also, when I left, I went straight on with Douglas Canfield, who I'd never worked with in Doctor Who, but he cast me in Target as a junkie.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I'm not laughing at the subject. I'm just laughing because then he also cast me as in a True Court Case. It's one of the first lesbians on television. You know, with an ordinary suburban wife, and then this young girl who comes in and changes her world and makes her realize, you know, that this is what she really wanted in life. And it was a court case about the woman trying to get custody of her children. And Douglas Canfield cast me in both those roles, which was very interesting considering Jo, if you see what I mean.
Yes.
And then I was also, you know, doing a program on teaching people arts and crafts. Most of which I've never done before. Like, you know, they'd say, right, today, Katie, you're working with epoxy resin. Pardon? You know, I could weave. I made my own. I could do things like that. But there were so many things in that I'd never done, which was fascinating. You know, I'd never had polished semi-precious stones, and and then I got to play a 16-year-old mass murderous girl guide at the Edinburgh Festival.
Yes.
Travers. So life after that meant that I was doing what I was doing. A year later, John left. We'd already, sadly, had to work through saying farewell to Roger, who on his awfully big adventure. And I think John Levine sort of did some episodes. But we kind of were all getting on with our lives. And John and I did see each other, occasionally.
Yeah.
But we can't keep that family in place.
No.
I think I made some sense there somewhere.
No, you absolutely did. Yeah, it's such a unique combination.
Do you know what I mean? I really have to think back because I haven't thought about it.
Yes, no, absolutely. I think it was such a unique combination, which was just magical, of course, to be able to watch. And well, I'm aware of the time because we've got to go to another live panel, but I would just like to ask you, if I could, when looking at your career, it is, yes?
Oh, I'm so sorry, everybody. I didn't know this was...
It's fine. It's absolutely fine.
I thought this was being recorded. I thought, oh, they'll cut out all the bits and pieces that perhaps I haven't sworn. I haven't done anything like that.
You've not sworn, I promise you. You've absolutely not. No, it's been brilliant.
I'm so sorry. Hello, everybody. I didn't know this was live.
Yes. It's been absolutely wonderful.
One more question.
Yeah, one last thing I'd really like to ask is, of course, when you sit down and look at your career, first of all, it's obvious that you weren't typecast as Joe, because very shortly after I think I may get this in the wrong order, but you go from Doctor Who to the film Don't Just Lie There, Say Something, then you're into the West End.
Yeah, that was written by John Pertwee's brother, Michael Pertwee. And it had all sorts of Joanna Lumley and all sorts of amazing, Ding Dong.
Leslie Phillips. Leslie Phillips. Yeah.
Who was in the Navy Lark with John.
Yeah.
Yeah, yes. I'd forgotten all of that, playing Misdemeanor.
Yes, that's it. But you've got this.
There you go. See, it's coming back to me.
That's it.
But that was all very quick.
Yeah, with this really sort of like remarkable career where you seem to have just, you've worked continuously, you as an actor, a writer, a voiceover artist, a director, a producer, a television presenter, of course, as well.
No,
so I'm just never produced.
I take that one out. No, that involves figures and things.
Right.
But I am very aware of a producer's job, as all actors should be aware of everybody's job.
Yeah.
And therefore, you respect your budget and your producer.
Absolutely. So in amongst this career, this really quite remarkable career, could you sum up what Joe and what Doctor Who mean to you? It might be an impossible task, but how would you sum up what the show means to you now, looking back?
Well, having had my career in 3 different countries, Princess Smoking Heels, as my children call me here. Where's Mummy? You just see she's gone. And also there were reasons why I had to change countries. No, they weren't on to me. None of that. I know this may sound very strange, and I kind of might have answered you slightly differently years ago. But something that really, really, I think probably the greatest thing that has come out of Doctor Who for me, and I never would have thought this would be it. It's nothing to do with my career. That's a completely different thing. I just like acting, and I'm really grateful to anybody who gives me a job. Thank you very much. It's that sort of thing. I don't have career plans, or, you know, but what I really have discovered, it gave me an ability in the very early days. When I first started in Who, I started little tiny charities helping children who had very difficult backgrounds and so on, and taking them to the theatre, just in small groups and so on. And then as the time has gone on, and you used to get fan letters back then, you know, there wasn't any social media. And I suddenly realized it's actually the fans that have given me the greatest gift that Doctor Who could have given me. Because out of those people, not only have I found enormous amounts of very, very, very important friendships in my life, I've also learned about a lot of people who have been inspired by Doctor Who to become great writers, directors, actors, you know. And then, but the other aspect of it, which really, really, really is important to me, is the fact that there are so many fans who were going through so many difficult times back when they were watching it, and still are, young and old, because, you know, I've now got quite a stretch, and having been back with in the Sarah Jane Adventures, it gave me a whole new, and I've realized that what Doctor Who, low battery, sorry, reading my phone at you, what Doctor Who has given me from that is an ability to get out, reach out, and help as many as I can, because they are the most extraordinary people with the most amazing stories. And it touches my heart. And I am so grateful to be able to help people who suffer so many different problems, and Doctor Who helps them through. And therefore I can, you know, that's the greatest gift Who could have ever given me. That, and of course, all the wonderful people, as I say, that have come into my life through it.
Yes, absolutely. Well, Katy Manning, you as a gift to the Whoniverse and to just people like myself, you're an absolute gift of a person, and I hope that you know that you are deeply loved. So thank you for joining us today. I really appreciate it.
You, and I'm so. Can I just apologise for anybody who? I really thought I was being recorded, so I've just been like, you know. So I do brush my hair. Oh, that's all right. Nobody, you know, they won't see me. It'll be all right.
No, it's been absolutely wonderful.
I hope I made some sense along the way.
You absolutely did.
I just have to do it. I just have to send huge smiling hugs to everybody. We're getting through this, kiddos. We're getting there.
We are. Katy Manning, thank you very much indeed for joining us. Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry I was late.
That's okay. There we go. Thank you so much, Katy. That was wonderful. Thank you.
Now I've got to put my glasses on to press the button.
Ah, right.
Where is it?
Oh, I'm not sure. I think there should be a little X somewhere, I think.
I know. It's this little tiny one here.
Ah, right. Okay. Katy Manning.